Gamit daw tayo ng approximation or guesses in order for us to solve a certain problem or numerical problem. And lastly, the completeness of the solution, whether other possible solution exists. Kasi sometimes, not necessarily most of the times, pwedeng ang isang equation magkaroon ng multiple solutions or magkaroon ng multiple values of x. For example, a parabola na pwedeng mag-cross or a parabola having two values of x. A quadratic equation, yun nga, parabola or quadratic equation, a cubic equation na meron daw maraming multiple roots. Marami na multiple pa, no? Ayun daw. So, mga sine waves, cosine waves, wherein the roots can be obtained periodically. So, ayun daw. Or in some other cases, where possible solution does not exist. Pwede kasing ang solution or other solutions will be possible, pwede din namang solution does not exist. Next, numerical methods naman is use of the numerical approximation to solve mathematical problems. Often when exact solutions are impossible or sometimes impractical to obtain. So for example, meron daw tayong given equation, mahaba daw. So an exact solution is improbable or impractical. Kasi ang haba-haba na nung aking solution, ang nakailang integration na ako, pabalik-balik na ako, and yet, hindi ko daw makuha yung sagot. So, numerical method makes it easier to obtain a value, not necessarily the true value, but an approximate value wherein large number of data, tawag dito, ano pa ba, mga equation na mahihirap isolve, such as mga transcendental equations, equations containing, tawag dito, exponential notations, involving trigonometric functions, na alam naman natin na very prevalent in engineering problems. So yung mga ganun daw, hindi man daw exact, but we can provide a solution that would na tawag dito, na malapit naman sa katotohanan. Yun daw yung ginagawa ni numerical methods. It is a process of numerical approximations to the true value of a certain problem. Maliwanag kung ano daw ang numerical method. Okay, pag may tanong ka, pwedeng magtanong. Next, ano naman daw ang analytical solution? Kasi tapos na tayo sa numerical method. On the other hand, yung analytical solution is the most common way na alam yung gawin nung kayo nag-algebra. For example, ayan, where you have an algebraic equation and you are asked to find the value of x. So yung process ng analytical solution is by subtracting both sides by by 5, then dividing both sides by 2 to get the value of x is equal to 5. Or making use of the quadratic formula to get the roots of an equation or of a quadratic equation. Pwede rin daw cubic equation using factoring. So yun daw mga yon ay considered as analytical solution. So other example that falls under analytical solution, yung solution natin for ODE or the ordinary differential equations for initial value problems. So meron din tayo mga integration, differentiation problems. And also, physics or engineering examples or equations that the formula has already been provided to you. And ang gagawin nyo lang, isa-substitute nyo yung mga unknowns. So, yun, exact or exact daw yung ating solution, therefore, it falls under the analytical solution. Isang process lang daw yung gagamitin natin. While in numerical method, it is a repetitive process or paulit-ulit na process daw ng or method hanggang makuha daw natin yung sagot. So yung paulit-ulit na process na yon tinatawag nating iteration. Later on, kapag pumunta tayo sa chapter 2, we'll we'll see how this iteration or repetitive method works. Ay, mali palang pinipindot ko. So, ano ba daw ang pagkakaiba nila? So, ang pagkakaiba nila, by definition, analytical solution, exact daw yung ating sagot. Commonly, they are expressed in closed form equation or formula. Sa numerical solution naman daw, we have approximate solution of computational, ay nakaharang pala to. Wait lang, paano ba ito itatago? Ayun, nakatago na. Approximate solution obtained through computational or repetitive iterative methods. Then for the accuracy, analytical solution always provide exact results. Kung ano yung sagot, yun ang sagot. If solvable. Now, kapag naman daw, numerical solution, although it only provides an approximate result or solution, depending on the accuracy and the method na ginagawa natin or the number of data provided to us, makakakuha daw tayo ng mataas na accuracy. So, ayun daw ang pagkakaiba nila. Approximate yung isa, but depending on the data and also on the method na gagamitin natin, the approximate solution is somewhat malapit daw dun sa exact solution na binibigay ni analytical solution. Not necessarily lagi sila mag-i-equal ha. Kunyari ang sagot sa equation, x is equal to 1. Maybe, in the numerical solution, your answer na mapoprovide or makukuha is 0.9998. So yung 0.998 is an approximation of the true value na 1. Di ba ang ginagawa nyo, naglalagay kayo ng parang ganyan. Yan. So sinasabi nyo, x is equal, kasi nakuha nyo for example, x is equal to 0.998. So ang gagawin nyo, ira-round off ninyo, so x is approximately equal to 1. So ito yung inyong final answer. Yan yung ginagamit nating approximation. So complexity, yung analytical solution often limited to simpler or well-defined problems. Wherein a formula is readily available and you can just substitute the values to that formula. While in numerical solutions, it can handle complex problems where exact solutions are impossible or impractical. So computation requires manual derivation or symbolic methods. So sometimes in analytical solution, before you can have an answer, magdi-derive ka ng mathematical equations, mathematical solutions. While to us in numerical solution, ito, pwede natin siyang ipadaan sa computer. Pwede nating isolve using MATLAB, Python, C++, or any other programming language, since numerical solution involves an algorithm wherein this algorithm can be turned into codes para daw computer na yung magsosolve. So ang pagkakaiba, analytical solution, hindi daw ikaw magsosolve. Ang numerical solution, ikaw daw pala magsosolve. Numerical solution, pwedeng ikaw or pwede mong ilagay sa computer. So yun, nakapagbigay na ako ng example kanina for analytical solution. Well, the numerical solution includes the Euler's method, the Runge-Kutta, finite element method, and the Newton-Raphson method. So marami pang method. Itong mga method na to, pagdadaanan natin all throughout this semester. So use cases. So Analytical solutions are best for simpler equations, standard function, and exact models. When we say exact models, these are the standard formula. Then for the numerical solution, these are for best for large system, engineering simulations, and real world problems like like forecasting, optimization, load flow analysis. So yung mga yon. So time requirement, yung analytical solution can be fast, mabilis, pwede daw fast, if a closed form exists or if a formula or an exact model is well defined. Impossible otherwise, kung hindi daw siya kung mahirap daw talaga yung problem. While numerical solutions may require iterations or computation time, but always feasible. Or kung hindi man siya feasible, there are tests that you can perform so that sa umpisa pa lang, you can tell whether the solution will be convergent or not. O meron tayong mga ganong test. Sorry. Para simula pa lang, malalaman nyo na agad kung siya ba daw ay or a solution exists. So lastly, flexibility. So limited yung analytical solution is only limited when no closed form solution exists. While numerical solution is highly flexible, it can be applied to nonlinear, high-dimensional problems, for example, mga nth order polynomials, and also at mga pag sinabi natin nonlinear, so it includes mga transcendental functions, logarithmic, exponential, at saka trigonometric. Kapag high dimensional, ibig sabihin higher order or higher degree polynomial equations. And also for data-driven problems. For example, you're given 10 years data for load forecasting. So yung mga data na yon, you can treat that para daw makapag-create ka ng mathematical model for load forecasting. So yun daw yung trabaho or pwede nating ma-acquire or ma-derive from numerical solutions. So, bakit ba daw mahalaga or essential ang numerical method? So, number one, handling complex problems. So, many real-world problems or systems such as load flow analysis, optimization problems, load forecasting, curve fitting, no kasi yung mga lalo kapag ang trabaho mo ay nasa system operations. So, yun yung magiging trabaho mo curve fitting, load forecasting, load flow analysis, ayan. Pag sinabi natin system operations, nandun ka sa substation, sa NGCP, sa power plant. So, in this scenario wherein most real problem cannot be solved exactly, so numerical approximations are the only practical approach. So, efficiency, they provide solution faster than trying to derive exact formula, especially for large-scale computations. Kasi, pwede mo siyang ilagay sa computer, so hindi na ikaw ang magsosolve. Baka sabihin nyo, ay sir, may AI na po, madali na yon. Si AI, nagre-rely lang yon sa mga data from the internet or from the database kung saan siya nakakonect. Kung wala dun yung data mo, for example, yung data mo is raw data you gathered from from the substation itself, hindi naman siya uploaded sa dun sa database ni Gemini. So hindi niya matitreat yung data na yon or hindi niya mai-interpret without you providing the or creating the model. So, kasi ang binibigay ni AI sa ngayon ay I haven't tried pa kasi. Ang ibinibigay niya is exact solution based on the prompt or based on your tawag dito, kung ano man yung ipinefed mo sa kanya na information. So if the information is not available on the server, hindi daw siya masasagutan pa rin ni AI. So, yun lang naman. Accuracy control methods can be designed to achieve a desired level of precision. Kasi ikaw yung magmo-model, ikaw yung magdi-dictate kung gaano karaming iteration, kung ano yung degree of freedom, yung tawag dito, ano pa, yung method na gagamitin mo sa pag-solve ng problem. So last, meron yung isa pa, broad applicability. This can be applied to equations, optimization, simulation, and data analysis across disciplines. So marami daw siyang pwedeng application, hindi lang daw sa engineering. So ano ba daw so yun yung major role niya. So ano ba daw ang role niya sa electrical engineering? So in circuit analysis, used for solving large networks of linear and nonlinear equations. Example, optimization problem in tawag dito, power plant operations. Also, we can use this in load flow calculation. So kapag kayo ay nag-power plant at saka nag-power system analysis, yun magagamit nyo daw yung numerical methods. So ito, this is a more scientific problem, electromagnetic field and electromagnetic field problems. So yung nabanggit ko kanina, in power systems, ayan, load flow studies, fault analysis, stability studies, and optimization of generation and distribution. Yan, nabanggit ko na naman yan kanina. So, signal and processing control. Ay, bakit ganon? Mabagal palang internet. Kaya hindi siya masyadong nagpapakita. Ayan. So, sa signal processing and control, approximation methods are used for filter design, numerical integration, and solving differential equations since most of the design na sinosolve natin are in terms of differential equations. So, pag nag-control system kayo, then pwede din daw siyang gamitin doon. So, simulation and modeling, you can do the simulation in computer applications or software such as MATLAB, SPICE, ANSYS, C++, Python, ayun. So, sila na yung magsosolve or sila na yung magko-compute, not necessarily magsosolve. Sila na yung magko-compute para sa'yo. So, additional reasons why we should study numerical methods. Hindi siya lumabas. Wait lang. Ayun. Numerical methods are undoubtedly one of the most powerful tools available. Kasi nga, it can solve simple hanggang mahirap na equations or problems. Commercially, computer programs involve numerical methods. So marami tayong mga computer applications that uses numerical methods. Yung calculator ninyo, alam niyo bang gumagamit siya ng numerical method? Sa paanong paraan daw? Try nyo. Di ba mahilig kayo mag-shift solve? Nag-shift solve kayo? Yes or no? Hindi ko masasabi, hindi ko sinasabing pangit mag-shift solve ha. Sabi ko lang kung gumagamit lang kayo. Yes or no? Aside from Miss Barredo, yan gumagamit naman. So, di ba mapapansin nyo kapag nag-shift solve kayo, kunyari inilagay nyo yung equation, kapag sinip solve nyo, maglalagay yun ng X question mark. Tama ga? Hindi ko natanda ang aking calcule. May lalabas ng gayon, X question mark. Meron. So, ang ginagawa daw ng X question mark na yun, nanghihingi siya sa inyo ng initial value or initial guess. Kasi di ba hindi nyo nga alam eh. So, ang gagawin nyo lang equals, biga. Pero sa totoong buhay, yung calculator natin, yung pala, manghihingi siya sa inyo ng initial guess. So, tapos makikita nyo, kukurap-kurap siya, nakalagay solving. Tapos maya-maya can't solve. Ibig sabihin ng can't solve na reach na yung maximum iteration na nakaprogram sa kanya, hindi pa niya nakuha yung sagot. Yun yung ibig sabihin ng can't solve. Pero may pagkakataon din na lalabas, bibigyan ko niya ng numerical value. So, ibig sabihin yung numerical value niya yun yung nakuha niya after a sequence or after a multiple number of iterations. Di ba? Sasabihin, ang tagal naman ng calcu. Nag-iisip kasi yung calcu kasi nagsasimulate siya ng iteration na nakaprogram sa kanya. So for example, nakaprogram sa kanya 100 iterations lang. So kapag na-reach na yung 100 iterations na yon at hindi pa rin niya nakukuha yung sagot, ang lalabas sa inyo, can't solve. Huwag niyo ibabato yung calculator. Ibig sabihin no, na-reach na yung maximum na pwede niyang i-iterate. Hindi niya ma-solve. Maliwanag. So many problems cannot be solved using the readily available computer programs. Ayun, kung hindi kaya ng calculator, pwedeng ikaw mismo ang mag-program. Numerical methods are an efficient vehicle for learning to use computers, and numerical methods deliver a way for you to strengthen your understanding of mathematics. So yung logical thinking ninyo, na-enhance daw ni numerical methods. So, punta tayo naman sa engineering problem solving. So, sa engineering problem solving, meron daw tayo diyang dalawa. Nag-appear na sa inyo, sa akin hindi pa nag-a-appear katagal. Tagal yata ang internet. Sige, wait lang ha. Ayan. Baka pag pinindot ko, yan, nag-appear na. So, ano ba daw ibig sabihin yan? Actually, nasa lecture din naman yan. So, meron nasa module. So, meron tayong letter A and letter B. So, this paradigm is your problem solving or engineering problem solving paradigm or diagram. So, yung letter A that represents the pre-computer and yung letter B, yung post-computer or yung meron na tayong computer era. So before computers are developed or invented, engineers, scientists, statisticians relied heavily on analytical math or the exact solution. So yung time daw, ito kasi nag-escape siya, wait lang. Ay, nasa na? Sige, wait lang. Yan. So dito daw, yung daw solution natin before pre-computer era, this takes time daw noong mga scientists, engineers, ayon. So, the bulk of the engineers' time, in our case, kung sa engineering, and intellectual energy was consumed by the solution phase. So, ayon. To make complex mathematics tractable by hand, the physical formulation has to be oversimplified and that there's a little time left for deep interpretation of the result. So dito sa formulation, hindi na daw natin siya or hindi daw nabibigyan siya ng mas importansya as well as the interpretation. So maaari, since kokonti yung ating formulation, yung ating nakuhang loss, yung ating mga tawag dito, konti lang yung ating sample data, kasi alam natin kapag tinreat natin yung mga data na yon, masyadong hahaba yung ating solution. So maaari na yung ating solution will not be accurate as to what we want to have. Then yung ating interpretation, hindi daw ganun kaganda yung makukuha nating data or result. So, hindi ganun kaganda rin yung ating interpretation of the results. While doon naman sa ating flowchart B, This represents the modern era powered by numerical analysis. So since computers handle the mathematical solution, ayan, computer-based na tayo, mas nabibigyan na natin ng importansya yung formulation and interpretation of the data. Ayun. So the formula um, nowadays, scientists, engineers can develop highly accurate and complex formulations. Kung dati, yung approximation natin, simple lang yung mga equation para madali daw ma-solve ng analytical solution. Ngayon daw, we can use or we can mix the different transcendental equation. Meron ng e to the x, meron pang sign sa isang equation. Kasi hindi na naman tayo yung magso-solve. Ipe-fed na natin yung mathematical model, the same with the data, in the computer para si computer na ang mag-solve para sa atin. Then after that, yung interpretation natin or studying how the system behaves under various conditions can be mabibigyan na natin ng mas maraming oras or time. So, yung ating, magkakaroon tayo ng in-depth interpretation of what has been extracted from our solution. Ngayon, sa MATLAB nga, pwede na tayong mag-graph. Tapos, yung presentation ng graph, kung anong gusto natin, pwede din daw nating ilagay doon. So, ayun daw siya. So, because calculations are instant, you can easily perform sensitivity analysis. You can also run loop to immediately see how changing the variable of a given function would affect the solution or the result of your experiment. So, ayun daw. Kasi dati kung marami daw kang forcing variables or forcing or many parameters daw yung in-input mo, so iniisa-isahin mo daw yun. So ngayon, bahala na daw si computer mag-isa-isa nun, mag-solve. Then, all the rest is i-interpret mo na lang siya. So, after daw naman noon, punta tayo sa engineering problem solving. Abagal naman ng internet ko. Katagal lumabas. Ayan. So, yung engineering problem solving, this is the same as yung ginagawa nyo daw nung kayo ay nasa elementary. So, the first step daw is the problem definition. Ito yung nung kayo elementary, isinusulat nyo, what is asked? Ayan. Yan yung sinusulat nyo, what is asked. Ganon din daw sa engineering problem. The first thing we need to do is to define what the problem is. So the process begins by clearly identifying and defining the issue or the problem at hand. Ano ba daw gusto kong solve? Ano ba daw gusto kong sagutan? Or ano ba daw gusto kong bigyan ng solusyon na problema? So yun, same daw din yun sa what is asked. Next, mathematical model. So the mathematical model, the defined problem is translated into a mathematical framework or mathematical formula. This involves or integrates the foundation or the foundational theory and the empirical data. Kasi before ka ayan, bakit ba siya nag-escape? Kasi before ka daw makapag-formulate ng mathematical model, maghahanap ka muna ng theory na maaaring sumagot sa iyong problem. Or, pwede rin daw, you're given data and that data ay sasagot din daw sa iyong problem. So, ayun daw. So, ang kailangan daw natin for a mathematical model is the fundamental theories and the data. So, after that, meron tayong problem-solving tools. So, these problem-solving tools includes computers, statistics, numerical methods, and graphical solutions. So various methods and technologies can be applied to solve the model, including nga mga yan, mga computers, statistical tools, numerical methods, and graphical representation. Then after daw noon, meron tayong numeric or graphical result. So after ma-solve natin yung, ma-input natin yung data natin, yung ating mga mathematical model sa computer, syempre, may lalabas dyang mga data na sagot or meron tayong results. So these results can be numerical in value, can be represented in table, and also this can be represented in terms of a graphical result. Di ba pag nagsosolve kayo ng relationship, kunyari ng voltage at saka ng current, di ba pinag-graph kayo? Ano daw ang graph ng or behavior ng current with respect to voltage and resistance? Ano daw ang behavior ng current sa isang inductor kapag in-applyan ko ng ganitong voltahe, etc. So, ayun daw. So, mas madali nyo daw ma-interpret siya if you have a tabulated data result or pwede rin sabay, pwede mo rin siyang i-represent as a graphical result. Kasi mas makikita mo, mas maiintindihan mo, or mas mai-interpret mo ano ba yung nilalaman noon. Then after that, societal interfaces. How can this result impact the existing problem? Kasi nga yung gusto mong sagutin eh. So the results are then evaluated through real problem. Ia-apply mo siya. And practical considerations such as scheduling, optimization, communication, and public interaction. Then after ma-apply mo siya sa real-world problem at napatunayan mo that it can solve that problem, pupunta na tayo dun sa implementation stage, wherein the resulting solution is executed in the real world. Or pwede mo na daw siyang ipagamit. Ay, nakagawa ako ng model. Kapag ginawa mo itong mathematical model na to, masosolve mo ang value ng current kapag ganito ang voltage at ganito ang resistance. Or masosolve mo ang value ng current, whatever the value of the voltage, whatever the value of the resistance is given to you. So yun, mga ganon. Next, nabanggit kanina yung mathematical modeling. So ano ba yung mathematical modeling? So in layman's term, mathematical modeling is yung pag-convert ng principles and fundamental theories into a mathematical equation or into a formula. Kasi doon tayo masanay sa formula. So yung formula na yan, bago daw yan ma-establish, it undergoes experimentation, yung pinakita natin kaninang engineering problem. So for example niyan, meron tayong, ito pala, example of mathematical models used in electrical engineering and power flow equations. Typically, this is used in load flow analysis. Kapag kayo ay dumating na sa power systems. Ohm's law. Kasi sabi sa Ohm's law, ano daw yung Ohm's law? Ano daw yung sinasabi ni Ohm's law? Ohm's law states that the current is what? Directly proportional saan? To the voltage and inversely to the resistance. Oh, yan daw yung definition ni Ohm's law. Pero ang ginagawa daw natin, kaysa yan daw lagi ang isusulat natin, we convert it into an equation or a formula. Sabi natin ay is equal to V over R. O di, pag sinabing Ohm's law, pwede niyo din daw siyang i-represent as a mathematical model. So ito palang formula na to, yan daw pala ay isang sample ng mathematical model. Is that clear? Kung ano yung sinasabing mathematical model. O yan. So, ano ba daw yung nilalaman ng mathematical model? So, ang mathematical model can be defined as a formulation or equation that expresses essential features of physical systems or processes in mathematical terms. So, ang ginagawa daw natin, ini-express daw natin yung equation in terms of dependent variables is equal to the function of independent variables, parameters, and forcing functions. So, ano-ano ba daw yang mga yan? So, yung ating dependent variable, o diyan yung ating value na gusto nating isolve. Di ba kalimitan, meron tayong y is equal to f of x. So, in this case, the value of y is your dependent variable. It is dependent on the value of the x. Then, yung parameters natin, pwede daw siya ay, ano ba daw, mathematical, tawag dito, equation ang nandoon. Pwede siya ay may addition, may kasamang exponential, notations, etc. Then, meron naman tayong forcing functions. So, yung forcing functions naman natin are external influences acting upon the system. Kasi for example, in load forecasting, kalimitan, ang tinicheck lang daw natin is yung load itself. Yung ano, yung mga data ng load. Pero aside from that data ng load, we can also include the temperature of the day, the seasonality, tag-ulan ba, tag-araw, kung kailan nangyari, or kung kailan daw nagkaroon ng ganong kilowatt hour. Kunyari, time of the day, o di isa yung variable time. Tapos, ano pa ba daw nakaka-apekto sa kanya mga forcing functions doon sa data na yon, sa kilowatt hour ng oras na yon. Ang una, temperature. Mainit ba sa oras na yon? Kasi kung mainit, mas mataas yung konsumo ng kuryente. Kung hindi naman, edi hindi nakabukas ang aircon, mas mababa ang konsumo. Then seasonality trend. Tag-ulan ba daw, tag-araw, ano ba daw man nangyari yun. So those values are also considered so that your dependent variable can be measured as accurately or can be approximately tawag dito pwede daw natin siyang ma-approximate na malapit daw sa true value niya. So, yun daw ang ginagawa ni mathematical model. So, dito, marami tayong mathematical model na makikita in determining the solution per se to the different methods that we will going to use. So, ano pa? Yan, yun lang naman. So, let's proceed now to significant figures. Significant figures naman daw are the digits in a number that carry meaningful information about its precision. They include all certain digit plus the first uncertain estimated digit in a measurement. So ano ba daw kahalagahan ng significant figures sa pag-aaral ng engineering or sa pag-aaral ng numerical methods? So since numerical methods gives only approximate results, the criteria like significant figures are used to measure the confidence in their accuracy. For instance, when accepting the result, if it is correct hanggang for significant figures or not. Kasi, ano ba yung ginagawa ni significant figure? Kasi, for example, si student A, ang ginawa daw niya, all the values na nakuha niya from his or her calculations, he used that as the values to input na in-input niya sa succeeding iterations. While student B only uses, yan, for example, for decimal or for significant figures. So depending on the number of significant figures you use, that also dictates how accurate and precise your approximation will be. O ito ang sinasabi. Also, quantities such as pi, Euler's number, and the square root of any numbers cannot be expressed exactly. Therefore, limited numbers or digits lang daw yung ginagamit natin. For example, yung pi, kung wala kang calculator, di ba para madali daw yung pagsosolve ang ginagamit mo, the value of pi ina-approximate mo na equal kay 3.1416. Di ba para madali? So yung iyong significant figure, when you look at the decimal places, hanggang 4 decimal places ka lang daw. Ganun din daw, lalo na sa atin sa electrical engineering, gumagamit tayo ng square root of 3 for 3-phase problem. O kung wala kang dalang calculator, minsan ina-approximate natin to sa 1.732. So, kung ito daw yung mga ginamit mo, so your approximation or your result is as good as the number of significant figures you used in your calculator, in your calculations, or in your solution. Did you follow on that? Sure ha? Kapag may tanong, pwedeng magtanong. Next, we proceed to rules on significant figures. So, pakita ko na kasi ang tagal-tagal niya. Ayan. Kita ga? Ba't parang may bulag? Kita naman. Although ito naman nasa lecture, pwede nyo din siyang tingnan. So, rule number 1. Ay, wala pala to. Rules in significant figures. Nawala yung article. So, number 1 daw na rule natin, all non-zero numbers are significant. So, non-zero numbers are significant. For example, 33.22 has 3 significant figures kasi all the digits are non-zero digits. Kung meron kang 444, 25.78, o di, ito daw ay may 3 significant figures, ito daw ay may 4 significant figures. Madali lang si rule number 1. Naintindihan? Okay. So, next naman daw, zeros between two non-zero digits are significant. So, for example, ayan, we have 2051. In between the two non-zero digit na 2 and 5, you have 0. So, bibilangin nyo na daw siya. So, meron ka daw 4 significant figures. So, for example, meron akong 2.0708. How many significant figures ang meron sa number na yan? 5. O, tama naman, 5. Since yung dalawang 0 ay nasa pagitan ng non-zero digit, ika-count din daw natin siya. O, tama naman kayong lahat. O, ayun, yun lang. Now, for rule number 3, wala to. Nakopy ko lang yan. Kaka-copy-paste ko yan. So, for number 3, leading zeros are not significant. They're nothing more than placeholders. So, for example, meron tayong 0.54. Notice that the 0 is on the left of the non-zero digit. So, kapag daw ang 0 ay nasa kaliwa ng non-zero digit, puro 0 daw doon, hindi daw siya bibilangin. So, for example, meron ako ditong 0.54. At sa kaliwa ng 5, may 0. So, yung 0 daw na yun ay not significant. So, for 0.54, we only have two significant figures. Same goes with the number or the decimal 0.0032. Leading zeros daw na tatlo, hindi daw bibilangin. So, yung 0.0032, meron daw siyang dalawang significant figures din. So, tatandaan, all zeros that are leading are not significant. Maliwanag. So, rule number 4. O, di ba? Hindi pa nag-update sa inyo. Ba't ito ay may sakit? Ayan. Yan. So, rule number 4, trailing zeros to the right of the decimal are significant. So, kung meron daw kayong number or meron daw kayong zeros right after the decimal, that is also considered significant. For example, you have 92.00. So, yung dalawang zero daw dyan ay significant. So, this is different from a value wherein 92 lang daw yung ginamit niya. So, this value has a 4 significant figure, while the number 92, this only has 2 significant figure. Ano ba daw ibig sabihin daw noon? So, kung daw kayo ay magsusukat, magko-compute, kung ang kinonsider nyo daw is hanggang up to 2 decimal places, hanggang na up to pa, ibig sabihin daw, your tawag dito, your consideration of the values that you will use is significant, ay importante, kaya nga significant, hanggang sa ika 1/100. Kunyari millimeters, centimeters, etc. So, yun daw yun. So, trailing zeros after the decimal are significant. Yan. Trailing zeros with a whole number with the decimal shown are significant. For example, we have a 540 here. At yung 540, meron daw decimal point. So, yun daw zero dyan, bibilangin. However, if trailing zeros in a whole number has no decimal shown, the zero is not significant. So, for example, I also have here a 540 without a decimal point. Therefore, kung ito ay may 3 significant figure, this value only has 2 significant figures. That's the difference between rule number 5 and 6. Tama ba? Oo, rule number 5 and 6. Maliwanag? Saglit lang ha, ako iinom lang ng gamot. Okay. Rule number 7 na tayo. Exact numbers have infinite number of significant figures. So this rule applies to numbers that are definite. So for example, ba't hindi na naman bagal-bagal ang internet. Ayan, although meron naman sa lecture, so for example, 1 meter can also be expressed as 1.00. So, yung 1 meter, 1 significant figure. Yung 1.00, 2 significant. Kung dadagdagan niyo pa ng mga 00, so they can be, there can be an infinite number of significant figures for a definite number for definite numbers. So, kalimitan naman, hindi naman natin ito ginagawa. Then rule number 8, for a number in scientific notation in the form of n by 10 raised to x power, all the digits comprising n are significant by rules 1 to 6. Then yung 10 at saka yung exponent x are not significant. O, yun lang naman. So rule number 8 provides the opportunity to change a number of significant figures in a value by manipulating its form. So for example daw dyan, ang sinabi sa inyo, you need to write 1,100 into 3 significant figures. So ilan ba ang significant figures sa 1,100? Ilan to? Ilan ang significant figure dyan? 2. So, ayan. So, 2 significant figures by what rule? Rule number ano? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Rule number ano? Rule number 2? Rule number 6? O, sige. Rule number 6. Ngayon, sa exam, kunyari, may panilagay doon, write the significant number of the given digit. O, nilagay nyo, 2 significant figures. I-explain nyo din kung anong rule siya nag-a-apply. Nagkakaintindihan? Maliwanag ah. Oh. Kasi nyo kanya, 2 significant figures. As stated in rule number 6, trailing zeros without a decimal, kineme-kineme, are not significant. Nagkakaintindihan? Ayun. Kaso nga lang, kapag naman daw ginawa natin siyang 1,100 na may tuldok, ilang significant figures naman daw to? 4 significant figures. O sige, tama. So, paano daw natin siya gagawing 3? Doon daw pumapasok yung scientific notation. Kasi, we can rewrite this as 1.10 times 10 to the 3 na value. Kasi, ang titingnan lang natin ay yung value ng n, since n is equal to 1.10, ayan. So, by rule number ano? Rule number ano to? Na magsasabi na siya ay 3 significant figures. Anong rule? Rule number 4? So, ano ba daw sinasabi ni rule number 4? Sabi daw, trailing zeros to the right of the decimal are significant. O di, by rule number 4, ang sagot. Rule number 8. O, pwede rin rule number 8 kasi nga, ginawa natin siyang scientific notation. So, yan daw yung magiging sagot ninyo. Ay, gagawin ko pala. Significant number, tapos significant figure kung ilan, tapos kung anong rule. O, ayun. Ganun sa exam. Maliwanag? May tanong? Yes.
Sir, kapag po pipili po ng rule, kunyari po dalawa po yung pwedeng
E di ano, dalawang rule din ang ilalagay mo. If 2 rules are applicable, edi you write 2 rules. Okay na, may tanong pa. Salit lang ha, hahating lang ako. Sorry. Wait lang. Okay, sorry. So, example number 1. So, calculate the answer to one significant figure. So, ang una nyo munang gawin for number 1, you perform the operation. So, what is 0.0075 divided by that 0.000715? Paki-compute nga ang sagot. Anong sagot, Dine? Para mabilis tayo, what's the answer? 1, ay, 104 point, sige, 8951049. So, sige, okay na. So, ngayon, ang tinatanong daw sa inyo ay one significant figure lamang. Pero, yung nakuha nating sagot, ilang significant figures ito? Ilan? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. O sige, tama naman 10. So, paano ba daw natin siya gagawing one significant figure? Ayun, sabi daw ni Mr. Rente, pwede daw natin siyang express as 100. So, tama daw yung sagot na yon. Bakit daw? Kasi yung 100 natin, all trailing zeros are not significant. So, yung 1 lang daw yung kukunin natin. So, tama naman na one significant figure daw ito. So, ang mangyayari, ito daw value mula 4 or mula dito sa 0 hanggang dito sa dulo, idadrop daw natin yan. Just to make the solution one significant figure. So, ayun. Ganun lang naman daw siya. Eh, paano naman daw kapag 3? Oh, 3 significant figures naman daw. Ilan? So, ang sagot natin is, okay, tama, 105. So, tama naman yun. So, tama ito by rule number ano? Rule number ano to? Rule number 2. Okay, that is correct. So, ang gagawin nyo, idadrop nyo naman daw yung mga decimal. Actually, there can be two answer here. Pwedeng 105. We have 3 sorry, ang katirang ilong ko talaga. Meron tayong 3 significant figure, pwede rin naman daw 100.5. So ito, rule number ano to? Rule number 4? Oh, see, di ba hindi ko rin tanda. Number 5. Oh, sige, rule number 5. So, pwede rin daw yan ang sagot. So, there can be multiple solution or answer. Basta, tama naman yung pupuntahan natin or ginagamit nating rule. So, ayun. So how about this? State the number of significant figures for 350.701. So, ilan daw? 6. 6 significant figure, tama naman. By what rule? Rule ano? Rule number 2? Number 2 only? Rule number 2. Kasi, okay, rule 1 and rule 2. Kasi sabi sa rule 1, non-zero digits are significant. Then also, sabi naman sa rule number 2, zeros between non-zero digits are significant. So, yan, kagaya naman nagtanong kanina. So, ang sagot natin dito ay dalawang rule. Maliwanag? Maliwanag ka daw? Okay. So, anyone, how about 67.0305? O, pwedeng sumagot kasama to sa recitation. O, di may isa ka ng recitation. Who wants to answer? Then explain ha. O sige, yun ang unang taas. Wait lang. Sino na unang tumaas ng kamay? Paano ba to gumagana? Ay, ano nangyari? Sino? Sino na unang tumaas ang kamay? 5 kasi. Sige, si Mr. Braza na lang. Kasi siya yung nasa unahan. Kasi ang ano nito, first to last. So si Mr. Braza talaga. Yung the rest, mamaya na ulit. Mr.
So
Braza.
we have 5 significant figures po based on Rule 1, which states that non-zeros are significant, based on Rule 2, which state that zeros between the non-zero digits are significant, and the rule number 4, which means that trailing zeros to the right of the decimal points are significant po.
Okay. So tama daw yun. Meron tayong 5 significant figures. And what rule again? Rule 1, Rule 2, and anong yung huling rule? Mr. Braza?
Rule number 4.
Okay, rule number 4. So Mr. Brasa, next meeting, tuwing kanong ganon, nung sinend ko, na rubrics, dalhin mo next face-to-face meeting para aking malagyan ng grade. So, tama naman daw yung inyong sagot. Naintindihan din yun ng iba, nasundan. Or same din ang inyong sagot. Same ka din. Okay. Sige. Saglit lang. Pati talaga ng ilong ko. So, next. Next, we proceed to mathematical rules for significant figures. So, hindi pa siya nag-a-update. Ayan, nag-update na. So, yung rules natin in mathematical operations such as addition and subtraction, ayan daw. So, for example, number 1, addition, sabi daw dyan, we add 472.1, 3.192, and 5,000.86, and we get this answer. So sabi daw dito, when adding or subtracting numbers, the number of significant figures doon sa ating sagot, sa ating result, is determined from the relative position to the decimal point of the least significant figure. Ano ba daw ibig sabihin noon? So ang gagawin nyo daw, para magagawa kayo ng imaginary line dun sa tapat ng decimal places or ng decimal point. Ngayon, dun lang kayo titingin sa kanan ng decimal point. So, dun sa kanan ng decimal point, bibilangin nyo yung significant figures sa kanan ng decimal point. So, sa first digit, ilan ang significant figures natin? Ilan din eh? Sa 47.72.1, ititingin lang tayo sa decimal, so sa 0.1. So meron lang tayong one significant figure. Sunod, yung 3.192 may 3 at itong 5,000.86 may 2. Sabi daw dito, yun daw resultant natin kailangan daw nakadepende sa least significant figure ng mga numbers na inad natin or sinubtract. So, alin daw yung pinaka-least dyan? Siyempre, yung 1. Ayan, yan yung pinakamalit eh, kasi 1, 2, and 3. So, di yung 1 na pinipiliin nyo. Kaya daw, magra-round off daw tayo sa pinaka-first decimal place. That is why the answer is 5,476.2. Hanggang 0.2 lang daw yung kukunin natin na significant figure after the decimal point. Is that clear? Maliwanag? Okay. So, doon naman tayo sa subtraction. Ito, paano naman daw yung ganyan? 8,000 minus 1,216.5419. Again, from the decimal point, gawa kayo ng imaginary line. Then, tingnan nyo daw yung significant figure sa kaliwa ng decimal point. So, dun sa ating subtractor, meron tayong 4 na significant figure. While dito sa taas, wala daw significant figure doon sa kaliwa. So wala tayong, kapag ganyan daw yung itsura niya, ang titingnan na daw natin is yung whole number. So ang binigay lang sa atin is 8,000. Yan, 8,000 lang. Wala daw siyang decimal point. No decimal point. Ibig sabihin, how many significant figures daw ang meron ito? Sabi daw dyan, meron daw siyang 1 significant figure. So, yung ating sagot dito, ira-round off din natin sa 1 significant figure lamang. Kaya ang sagot ay 8,000 pa rin. Nasundan yun. Wala na kasi tayo ibang choice. Kapag ganyan, yan yung susundin natin. Naintindihan? Okay. Sige. So, paano naman daw kapag multiplication? So, multiplication and division, since division is just the inverse of multiplication, they're just the same. So, the number of significant figures in the result is determined from the number of significant figures in the least value used in the calculation. So, for example, you're asked to multiply 88.037 and 0.00721. So, ano daw sagot dyan? So, ayan, mahaba. 0.6347 or 677. Kaso nga lang, again, titingnan daw tayo ng least significant figure na ginamit sa pag-multiply. Dito, yung buong number na ang titingnan. Hindi na tayo magbabase sa decimal place. Yung buong number na. So for the first digits, so meron tayo ditong 5 significant figures. Dito sa isa, 3 lang. Tama ba? 5, 3 lang? O, kasi nasabi ko na sa explanation. So, tama naman yan. So, kung 5 at 3 siya, so ang magpe-prevail ay yung 3 significant figures. So, ang kukunin lang natin is the first 3 decimal places, 6, 3, and 4. But since 4, ang katabi niya ay 7, we round that up to 0.635. Maliwanag. Maliwanag ka?
Yes po.
Sige. Ayun. Kung meron daw rules ang pag-multiply, pag-add, meron din daw rules ang pag-round ng number. So, yan daw. Ipakita ko na lang kasi ang bagal ng internet. So, paano ba daw tayo nagra-round ng number? So, for rule number 1, sabi daw dyan, if the digit to be dropped is greater than 5, the last retained digit is increased by 1. O, paano ba daw yun? So, example ng rule number 1, let's say meron akong number 12.6. So, sabi daw dyan, the digit to be dropped is larger than 5. And in this case, edi yung 6. Kunyari yan yung idadrop natin 6. Since 6 is greater than 5, the last retained digit, kasi yung katabi ng 6, ito yung last, will be added by 1 or will be increased by 1. So ito, kapag ni-round off natin, 13. Yung parang nagra-round off tayo ng ng normal number. Kunyari, meron akong 0.577. Ang gusto kong i-drop ay gusto kong i-drop tong 7 na to, yung pinakadulong 7. So, ang kanyang round off ay 0.58. Since yung 7 is greater than 5, yung katabi niyang digit, aadan ko daw ng isa. Diga ito yung ating normal. Okay na din eh. So, punta naman tayo sa rule number 2. If the digits to be dropped is less than 5, the last remaining digit is left as is. Kunyari, 12.4. Pag ni-round off daw natin to, equivalent daw siya saan? Yung 12.4. Sa 12 lamang. Kasi sabi daw, the remaining digit is left as is. O kunyari, meron akong 0.572. Gusto kong i-drop si 2. Anong sagot? 0.57, that is correct. Okay. Sige. Okay, rule number 3. If the digit to be dropped is 5, and if any digit following it is a non-zero, the last remaining digit is increased by 1. Ano ibig sabihin nun? For example, meron akong 12.51. O, ayan. At ang gusto kong i-drop ay yung 5. Kasi sabi dito, the digits to be dropped is 5. Ayan. Ang gagawin daw natin, titingin daw tayo dun sa kanyang kanan. Since sa kanyang kanan, merong 1, which is a non-zero digit, ang sabi daw dyan, the last remaining digit is increased by 1. So, ito, kung ito ay 12.51, titingin ako sa kaliwa, ito daw ay non-zero. After nun, titingin naman ako sa kaliwa. Yung number daw dun sa kaliwa, aadan ko naman daw ng isa. So, this is, kapag round off natin, is 13. Tama ba? Ulit-ulit ha. Kapag meron daw ako kunyari na 12.51 at ang idadrop ko ay yung mismong digit na 5, titingin muna ako sa kanan. Kung sa kanan ba niya ay merong number. Kung may merong number doon, non-zero, ibig sabihin 1 to 9, ibig sabihin nun, yung aking number sa kaliwa, aadan ko ng isa or magra-round up ako. So, ito, 12.51. And if the digits to be dropped, ay, wait lang. Sabi kasi dito, if the digit to be dropped is 5 is followed only by 0, the last remaining digit is increased by 1 if it is odd pala. And if it is even as is, ayun, mali pala ako. Kasi sabi dito, if it is add 1. And if it is even as is, kaso nga lang dito, hindi daw dapat pala ako nag-add ng 1. Kasi ang nasa kabila ng 5 ay 2. Ang 2 natin ay even. So ito daw dapat pala hindi 13, it must be 12. Nasundan ga ako o isa pa? Yes, Mr. Sino yon?
Sir, hindi po ba magpa-plus 1 pa rin since yung katabi po ng 5 ay non-zero po?
Hindi. Ganito nga. Sorry pala. If the digits, bali ang basa ko, if the digits to be dropped is followed only by 0 pala. Sorry, mali ako. Mali. Mali ang aking, ito pala ay rule number 3 pa rin. So kung rule number 3 pa rin pala ito, 13 pala ang sagot. Sige, tama. Nalito ako. Rule number 4 na nga pala tayo. Sige, ulit-ulit. Kasi may 0.51 pala ako dito. So, dapat pala ay 0 kasi sabi dito is yung 5 daw is followed by zeros. O, mali ang aking basa. Sige, thank you. So, for example, mali yung example ko dito. So, for example, 11.5 na lang. So, ayan. So, 11.5 is to be rounded kasi ang katabi nito, wala siyang katabi, di ibig sabihin 0, may 0 dyan. So, kung ito daw ay, ang katabi niya sa kaliwa ay add, mag-a-add ako ng isa. So, this is 12. Pero kung naman daw siya ay 12.5, ayan, wherein yung kanyang katabi sa kanan, sa kaliwa ay even, ito naman ay even, as is daw, ito pa rin daw ay 12. Ayun pala. Mali ang tingin ko. So, ito pala tamang 13. Yan yung sinulat ko kanina. Pero kapag dun sa rule number 4, ayun, kapag ang katabi ng 5 na idadrop natin ay 0, titingin muna ako sa kaliwa at i-check ko kung yun daw ay add. Kung yun ay add, mag-a-add ako ng isa. So, kaya siya naging 12. At kapag naman daw, ang katabi naman daw niya ay even, sa kaliwa, as is daw yung number. So, 12. So, ang tatandaan daw natin pala dito, kapag daw tayo ay nagra-round off ng number, at ang idadrop ay 5, and ang katabi niya ay 0, dapat daw ang ating sagot ay laging even number. Kunyari, meron akong 105.25. Ayan. So, ang gusto kong i-drop ay ito ha, hindi itong 5 na ito. Ito itong pinakadulo. So, since even daw yung katabi niya, as is daw siya, 105.2. Pero kung ang number ko naman daw, for example, is 276.36, 35. 35 yan. So, ang gusto kong i-drop ay itong nasa dulong 5. So, ano dapat sagot niya? 276.4. So, dapat daw, yung mga digits nyo sa dulo, kung saan kayo nag-drop, dapat daw siya ay even. Okay na. Pwede na akong sumunod na mag-diretso sa sunod. Naintindihan ka? Okay, sige. So, let's move now to accuracy and precision. So, ano ba daw pagkakaiba ni accuracy and precision? May pagkakatulad ba daw sila? So, dito, meron tayong mathematical model which illustrates accuracy and precision. So, mathematical models depend on the assumptions and approximations made by the modeler. So, since human pa rin naman daw ang nagmo-model, tayo pa rin naman ang magmo-model, so nagkakaroon tayo ng unavoidable numerical errors. So, therefore, yung ating model should aim to be as accurate and as close to the true value as possible. So the errors are usually associated with both calculations and measurements and can be characterized with regard to their accuracy and precision. So in calculations naman daw, for example, yun nga, yung lagi kong example, si student A, lahat ng decimal ginagamit niya. While si student B, 2 decimal places lang daw ang ginagamit niya sa pagko-compute. So based on those scenarios, magkakaiba talaga yung sagot noong dalawa. So meron ka na doong error, ibig sabihin, sino mas accurate? Yung gumamit ng maraming decimal places o yung gumamit ng 2 decimal places? Sino sa tingin nyo? Si student A na marami or si student B na kakaunti? Sino daw? Student A o si student B? Ang mas accurate? O si student A. Okay. So, yun daw yun. So, sabi daw natin dyan, accuracy refers to how, and yun para sa computation. Sa measurement naman, kunyari, yung isa nagme-measure up to 4 decimal places, yung isa hanggang 2 decimal places lang daw ang ilalagay niya sa table. So, kapag nag-calculate daw tayo, syempre, mas accurate yung mas maraming decimal places. Kasi, mas maraming significant figures yung kinoconsider niya sa kanyang calculation or measurement. So, another example here, sabi daw dito, yung sa marksman or yung sa kapag nagdadart ka daw. So, before that, let us define accuracy and precision. So, accuracy refers to how closely computed or measured agrees with the true value or accepted value. Ito daw, yung measured or computed value sa true value. While yung precision naman daw, how closely individual computed or measured agrees with each other. Yun daw ang pagkakaiba nila. So in this model or in this figure, you can see that letter D, talagang doon ako magsisimula sa letter D. So letter D is accurate and precise. So accurate siya kasi natamaan niya yung bullseye or yung pinakagitna. And also, the measured or the, all, at lahat ng kanyang tira ay nagsama-sama. Ibig sabihin, accurate siya kasi lahat ng tira niya nasa bullseye and precise siya kasi lahat ng kanyang tira magkakalapit. Ayun. So, letter C naman daw is inaccurate but precise. Inaccurate siya kasi dapat ang tatamaan niya yung bullseye. Pero, malayo yung kanyang tatamaan. Pero, precise siya kasi lahat ng tumatama niya nagkukumpol sa isang lugar. Or the values agrees with each other. Kung value man yan. While letter B is accurate pa rin siya kasi kung ang pagbabasihan naman natin is within the range, kasi yung bilog, yun yung range niya. So, although it has some accuracy, hindi ganoon kataas yung accuracy, pero accurate siya kasi natamaan niya yung nasa loob ng tawag ito, ng target. But it is imprecise kasi magkakalayo sila, ayan o, meron silang spaces. Hindi sila nagkakasundo-sundo. Or malalayo yung values na nakukuha nyo. While in letter A, it is both inaccurate and imprecise. Accurate, hindi niya nga nakuha yung tawag dito, yung bullseye, kasi lumagpas yung kanyang tira sa labas, ayan, may lumalagpas. And at the same time, hindi siya precise kasi hindi nagka-clump yung kanyang tira. So, yun ang pagkakaiba nila. So, inaccurate and imprecise, the points are widely scattered, low precision, and generally far from the center with low accuracy. That's letter A. Letter B, the points are widely scattered, but their overall distribution is concentrated around the bullseye. If you average these points, the result may be close to the true value. So letter C, the points are tightly clustered together, meaning the results are highly reproducible, but they are far from the true value. Then lastly, accurate and precise, the ideal scenario, the points are tightly clustered exactly on the available true value. Wait lang ha, give me 2 minutes. O ayun. So yun daw ang ibig sabihin ng precision and accurate. So in the study of numerical methods, you not only need to be accurate, you need also to be precise. Dapat magkasabay yun. Kung papipiliin ako dyan ng numerical methods, ang pinakamaganda is letter D. Pero letter B can also be used, although it is imprecise, but the result, when you average the result, it can be close to the true solution. O, ayun. So, BNC lang tayo. BND lang tayo dyan. Kasi, baka sabihin nyo, sir, ba't po yung letter C hindi pwede? Kasi, yung letter C mo, although the values agreed with each other, Kaso nga lang, baka may mali dun sa model mo or meron kang hindi kulang na consideration na parameters doon sa iyong model, kaya yung iyong sagot, although malalapit sila sa value, pero kung titingnan mo sa true value, malayo siya. So, ayun. So, kapag letter C naman, babalikan mo yung iyong mathematical model, babalikan mo yung iyong process, baka may nakaligtaan ka, may na-miss out kang solution. So, ayun. So, next, sources of numerical errors. So, the first source of numerical error is round off errors. Ayan. So, paulit-ulit ako kanina. So, when rounding off, syempre, pag dami ng dinadrop nyo na, na decimal points, pag layo daw sa true value na inyong kinukuha. So, due to the fact that computers can represent not only computers but you yourself as human being, kapag kayo ay nagko-compute at nagmamadali na, laging hanggang 4 decimal places lang yung nagagamit. So, when represent only quantities with finite numbers or digits, hindi maiiwasan nga na magkaroon ng round of error. So, yung ating round of error, E sub r, can be calculated as the absolute value of the true value minus the rounded value. Then yung ating relative round of error in percentage is yung ating true error value or E sub r divided by the true value multiplied by 100%. This can only be used in numerical methods if the true value is available. Ayun. Kasi iko-compara mo siya sa true value. So kapag ito ay available, ang makukuha mo ay true error value. So for example, suppose an electrical engineer calculates the current using Ohm's law. So by Ohm's law, 230 volts divided by 47, ito daw yung current na lumabas sa calculator. Pero nung nag-tabulate siya ng data, ang ginamit lang niya ay 2 decimal places. So kung maraming current yan, maraming values, so kapag tinotal mo yung yung result nyo, you will get a error which is not necessarily significant. Pero this will be based on the values na makukuha mo, kung significant ba or hindi yung error. Kasi in this case, if you compute for the percentage error, the error is only 0.74%, which can be considered as a very low error. Di ba kapag nag-experiment kayo, nagsosolve kayo ng error value, ito din yun. Kasi, di ba, yung computational by Ohm's law, may value ka doon. Then, kapag naman ikaw ay nag-experiment, kung ano yung nabasa mo doon sa analog meter, kung ang mata mo sa analog meter ay nakakabasa hanggang 5 decimal places, edi napaka-accurate ng mata mo. Pero kalimitan, point something lang tayo sa analog meter. Or kaya yung digital meter mo, hanggang 2 decimal places lang yung pinapakita. So, the value that you can get on those measurements are already rounded off. Is that clear? Then we also have the truncation error. Ayan. So for the truncation error, the discrepancy introduced by the fact that numerical methods may employ approximation to present the exact or true value or mathematical operations or quantities. Yung truncation error, nangyayari ito kasi sa numerical methods, yung ating mga equations, methods, sa pagkuha ng roots ng value ng x, sa pagkuha ng equation, are just mere approximation of the true value. So truncation error is the error that occurs when an infinite process, such as a series of expansion, iteration, and integration, is cut off. Pinutol daw natin after a finite number of steps. to make calculation practical. Kasi kalimitan, sa numerical methods, kapag tayo ay magpo-program, for example, sa MATLAB, it's either we can dictate a stopping criterion in terms of a percentage or a number of iteration. So, ayun. So, kung ginamit daw natin yung, ang in-input daw natin, for example, is after 100 iteration, mag-stop ka na. So whatever yung program mo kapag nag-run siya at na-reach na yung 100 iteration, kahit ang error ay let's say 5%, ititigil niya yon. So yung inyong error is as good as how you model or how you program your solution on the computer. Or you program that's the solution. You program the code in your computer. Kasi may limitation naman lahat ng bagay. So ayun. So that's the truncated or truncation error. So example natin here is we have the derivatives that we often use in signal processing. You find the derivative of f of x that which can be approximated by a forward difference formula. By the way, this forward difference formula is used in numerical differentiation. So dito, ayan, ang nakuha daw nating result using this approximation formula, hindi kasi tayo nag-derivative eh. Kasi kung nag-derivative daw tayo ng sin x from 0 to 0.1, makakakuha tayo ng 1.00 na value. But in this case, we just use an approximated equation or ito yung mathematical model ninyo, you get 0.9983. But what can you say about these two? They have an error or yung ating approximation has an error of 0.0017. So this value, as much since maliit na siya, this can be considered 0. O kaya minsan, di ba, kapag ganito yung inyong solution, nakuha nyo, ang gagawin nyo, ang lalagay nyo, kunyari, x is approximately equal to 1. Yung meron kayong gagamiting approximation na symbol. Hindi siya equal. May kakaintindihan. O, ayun daw siya. So, quantifying error naman daw. So, we can quantify error by taking or defining the major forms of error. So typically, there are two major forms, the true error and the approximate error. So ano ba ang pagkakaiba nila? So si true error, in numerical methods, is the difference between the true or exact value of a quantity and the approximate numerical value obtained using numerical approximations. So ano ba ibig sabihin nun? This is the difference or this is the tawag dito, yung nawala sa dulo ng dila ko. Yung sige, nawala na sa dulo ng dila ko. The difference or yung comparison pala natin between the true value and the approximate value. So, makukuha lang natin yung true error if we know the true value. So, yun lang naman. Kaparehas lang din yan nung kanina. So, for example, ayan. Ito yung kagaya ng lagi natin ginagawa kapag nag-e-experiment tayo. While the approximate error is computed based on the comparison of a certain previous approximation to a present approximated value. So, yun siya. So, kalimitan, the approximate error, ito yung ginagamit natin in numerical methods. Ayan. So, ipapakita daw na yung formula ng ating approximate error is the present approximation minus the previous approximation, then you take the absolute value. Yun ang ating epsilon sub A or the relative approximate percentage error is the ratio of the approximate error with the present approximated value times 100%. So ito, dinidefine lang naman natin, ipine-present pa lang naman natin, wala naman tayong i-compute dyan, kasi magko-compute lang tayo nito kapag meron na tayong value ng or meron na tayong nakuhang approximated value or approximated solution. So, yan, example lang yan. Let's just skip on this. Hindi naman yan mahalaga. So, ito na lang. So, for example, yan nga yung ating sinosolve na yung, so technically, if magki-KVL kasi tayo, huwag niyong pansinin yung I, hindi ko lang natanggal yan. If we, in a diode, for example, meron ako ditong voltage source, meron ako ditong diode, ayan, meron ako ditong, for example, resistor. Kapag nag-KVL ako dyan, ito yung makukuha ko. This equation is an empirical or exact na lang. Exact equation. Wherein itong exact equation na yon, makakakuha tayo ng exact solution 3.1 using KVL. Now, if we use a simple fixed point iteration method wherein we represent the Ohm's law in terms of the certain approximation formula, hindi daw natin agad-agad makukuha yung value ng current. Kasi first, ito, magkakaroon tayo ng initial guess. So, i-input daw natin yung value ng current ay na 2.9. Then, after that, succeeding, makakakuha ko ng 3, second iteration 3.5, and so on and so forth, until I can have a value which is somewhat or malapit na dun sa value na true. Kasi yung true value natin is 3.1. Where here, after 6 iterations, nakakuha ako ng 3.096875, which is, we can say that it is approximately equal to 3.1 amperes. Pero, since we're doing approximated values, nakakakuha tayo ng epsilon sub A. This is the approximate relative percentage error. Ayan. So, ang pinagkukumpara daw natin is the approximated value. Hindi daw natin siya ikino-compare sa true value. So, ano ba daw ang pagkakaiba ng truncation sa approximate error? Truncation error, it is due to the cutting off of the infinite process of iteration. So, the source of the error is the method itself. Kasi kung tinigil ko ng 100, hindi pa siya tapos, pwede pa siyang tumuloy, pwede may error ako ng 100. So, that is the truncation error at 100 iterations. While the approximate or the total or overall error is caused by the truncation, round of error, and sometimes the model error itself. Kasi kagaya ng sinabi ko, hindi precise, hindi accurate yung iyong modeling kasi meron kang parameter na hindi na consider. Rounding of error, since sabi nga natin, all computers, even human, has a limit on how much number or how much decimal point ang iyong ititreat. And also, truncation error, kasi in numerical analysis, pwede kang magputol or pwede kang tumigil ng iteration when you say or when you feel that you're confident enough that the value will converge no matter how many iterations you make or how many iterations you will be making. So, yun ang pagkakaiba nila. Yung approximate error is the overall error from truncation error, round-off error, and model error. So, yun ang pagkakaiba nilang dalawa. Then, stopping criterion, the stopping criterion is the rule when to end an iterative numerical method. So, in stopping criterion, meron daw tayong tatlo na stopping criteria. Number one is if we specified a fixed number of iteration. Pwedeng after 4 iterations, you stop na. If after 100 iterations, titigil ka na. So, this may be simple, but may stop too early or too late. Kasi baka naman mamaya, tumigil ka na 10 iteration pa lang, since hindi mo kinompute yung error value, malayo pa pala yung sagot mo. Or baka naman nakarating ka na ng 100 ng 1,000 iteration, yun, naluka-luka na kasi ang dami na niyang iteration. Too late, hindi mo napansin, nagko-converge na pala siya, or hindi mo napansin, nagda-diverge na pala yung solution, or the solution does not exist. Ayun. Yun yung problema sa number 1. This is the list na ginagawa in numerical methods. So number 2, absolute error criterion, there is, if here, you know the true value. If you know the true value, then you compare your approximation, then you set is tolerance, you stop. Ayun. Kaso nga lang dito, kalimitan, in real-world engineering problem, the true value is non-existent. Yun nga yung hinahanap mo eh. Unless meron kang available data. In numerical methods, ito yung kalimitang ginagamit. Yung number 3, absolute error criterion, wherein you compute for the absolute approximate relative true error, ang haba kasi, or the absolute value of epsilon sub A, and you compare it with a stopping criterion epsilon sub S. So yung epsilon sub S has a formula 0.5 times 10 to the 2 minus n. So ano ba yung sinasabi ng n na yan? This n represents the significant figures on the decimal that you want to use. For example, the significant figure is 4 lang. Ibig sabihin, this becomes 0.5 times 10 to the 2 minus 4, o di 0.5 times 10 to the negative 2%. Yan daw yung yung stopping criterion. So, yun lang naman. Ang sinasabi lang nitong negative 2 na to, or ng n na to pala, is the significant figure na gagamitin mo when calculating. This is typically done if you are the one to model. Pero sa exam, kung hindi ko ibinigay, yan ang gagamitin ninyo. Kasi nakalagay naman, please round off your answer to 4 decimal places. O di, yan yung gagamitin nyo. Pero kalimitan, for the simplicity at para din pare-parehas yung ating solution, yung ating gagawin, ibinibigay na namin yung stopping criterion or ibibigay ko yung stopping criterion. It's either ibigay ko yung true value, magbigay ako ng number of iteration, or simply, I'll provide a stopping criterion. Maliwanag ka. Ayun, tapos na. So, I'll send you this presentation later today. Tapusin ko lang yung klase ko. Then, if you have questions, clarifications on the module, you can send messages naman. Pagbigyan nyo na lang ako, baka malate ako mag-reply kasi minsan hindi ko napapansin. And also, please try to review what you have learned by answering chapter test yung 1.8 doon sa module. So this will not be recorded whatsoever. The purpose of this is just whether to test yourself if you understand or not the discussion. Binigay ko na din naman yung answer key. Naibigay ko ba? Tama ba? Naibigay ko? Pa-check na ako kung naibigay ko. So that will be your guide kung tama or mali yung sagot ninyo. And if you find some difficulties nga, or uncertainties on your answer, you can reach out to me. Is that clear? Okay. So kung wala nang further clarifications or questions, this ends our discussion. Next week, online tayo. And be prepared for chapter 2 kasi tayo ay may graded recitation. Pag-aralan nyo yan, basahin nyo. Kasi kagaya nga na sinabi ko sa inyo, na-solve ko na yung problems. What you need to do is to review, have an advanced reading on that, and then I will be calling someone next meeting for a graded recitation on how you understand the illustrative examples in the module. Is that clear to everyone? Sige, yun na lang ngayon sa ngayon. Thank you and have a safe weekend. Sana hindi na bumagyo, may bagyo daw. Sige. Ay, may tanong. Sige, Miss Barredo. Sige, bigyan kita. Sige, sendan kita. So, kung wala na, okay na tayo. See you next meeting. Online naman tayo. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you
po.
po, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you po, sir.
Sir.
Thank you po, sir.
Thank you po.
Thank you.